Hello and welcome to a very special 9th episode of the Bulletin. It is the budget special. And over in Canberra we have the Francis Leach. Hi Francis, how are you?
I am well, but Kleo, how are you?
I'm very well, thank you. And we also in the northern suburbs of Melbourne have the fantastic Liz. Liz, how are you today?
I'm well, thank you very much for asking.
Thank you so much for coming on.
Pleasure.
Before we talk about the actual interesting stuff, Francis, is there anything interesting that came out of the budget last night?
Well, I think that the key things and the key asks that the union movement has been making for a significant period of time now, there were some big moments, some really big moments and some big union wins and a testament to the power of campaigning and the power of people working together. The extension of paid parental leave, which has been talked about in the lead up to the budget, massive game changer, particularly for women and the workforce, and giving women a chance to re-enter the workforce. As much as we'd like to think that we've got a better gender split when it comes to men looking after their kids or taking on those caring roles, it's still something that predominantly affects women. So that's a huge moment that the union movement and their allies have been campaigning on for a very long time, as with early childhood education as well, which received a significant boost, and the care sector, which we know at the moment the Fair Work Commission is doing a work value case around a significant pay rise for aged care workers. All of these areas got a significant boost. TAFE as well and skills training, something that we know as unionists, skilling our workforce to be able to meet the challenges of the new jobs that are coming down the pipe in a new green economy, but also in the current economic environment, really important to have those free TAFE places. That makes a massive difference to point of entry for so many people. If you want to do TAFE and you haven't got $200 in your pocket and you go to your local TAFE and you're instantly hit with sign-up fees or other fees that might prohibit you from joining your local TAFE and doing that work, you're lost already before you start. So these are all things that at the very ground level will make a huge difference to working people. I think, obviously there's an honesty around the budget as well, in that there is a real issue when it comes to the fact that the cost of living is going through the roof. Energy prices are expected to continue to rise for a significant period of time because of global events, particularly the war in Ukraine and supply issues that has just reverberated around the world. And it's going to be tough, there's no doubt. But there's some stuff that unions have worked really hard for and have won as a consequence of the long, hard, relentless and articulate campaigning for every member out there that's raised their hand, handed out a flyer, made a call to a friend. All of those things have counted, and this is what happens. I think we deserve to give ourselves a pat on the back.
Is there, as far as grim news is concerned, you touched on the energy prices there. Forecast to increase by almost 50% by the end of the year. Did I get my numbers right there?
Yeah, 50% by the middle of next year. It would feel like, I think it's 30% before the end of the year it could rise, 20% again next year. And that is just terrible news for so many people. There's no getting away from it. Black cloud on our Christmas horizon. Lots of people, are looking to try to find a way to relieve the pressure on their household budgets when it comes to energy prices. And more needs to be done in that area. There is no doubt about it. And there's got to be, I think the Treasurer said yesterday that there's got to be a conversation with energy providers around how the market is going to operate and whether there's got to be other interventions in the market to stop these prices spiralling out of control. But there are a lot of, it's that terrible situation, Kleo, that the government finds itself in a way, in that putting more money into people's pockets with direct handouts might actually fuel inflation, which might push prices up as well. So you've got to find that balance between giving people money and then watching inflation spike as people spend that. But there's no doubt that real wages need to grow. Real wages need to grow as workers have done their bit during the pandemic and deserve real wage rises. That has to happen, and it has to happen sooner rather than later. It's that tricky balance now, isn't it, between, giving people that money and then watching prices go even further up. So how the government manages that is a massive problem for Jim Chalmers and a huge challenge, but they need to meet that challenge, and no doubt the Australian Union Movement's going to keep them honest on that promise to grow real wages.
But, you were talking about long, relentless and articulate campaigning, and that's why I've brought you on, Liz. So, Liz, you work in a managerial position, but most importantly as a union delegate at your workplace in local government. You know firsthand how incredibly complicated, arduous and taxing on you the bargaining process can be. Do you want to talk to us a little bit about that recent enterprise agreement and what happened?
The most recent one actually took almost 2.5 years to reach an agreement because of COVID. We were shut down for a long period of time. So it was protracted. And I represent people who work in the leisure department of a local council. And the proposal was that they, to give some context, most people work about 6 hours a week. Maybe, and that's equivalent to about 2 shifts. Lifeguards, for example, they can't work more than 3 hours at any given time because of the stress of the job. Swim teachers just standing in chlorine. People who are group fitness instructors or gymmies, the same applies. It's usually a 3-hour shift and it's part-time. Up until this EA, we had a system whereby people, and it was sanctioned by Fair Work, a system whereby they received the 25% loading on their hourly rate, but it was described as a holiday or in lieu of other amenities rate. And so people were getting the 25% loading with the guarantee of hours. So they had permanent part-time hours. It had been signed off by Fair Work and I can't remember the date, but it was around 2008, and it had been wonderful. And we'd had that system prior to the signing off by Fair Work this time, and most people could live on that. It made a huge difference to their weekly income when they are earning so little because of the nature of the work and the hours. This EA council took a position where they were not going to do that anymore. Their position was in place from the beginning of the negotiations and didn't change at all throughout the 2 years. And so everyone at work has lost 25% of their hourly income, and they have lost 25% of the value of their long service leave, because they will be paid at the new current rate, not the old rate, even if you had accumulated, almost your 7 to 10 years prior to the introduction of this. We couldn't reach an agreement. We went to Fair Work and had 2 sessions of mediation. And I think, as I said to you before, at the summing up of the negotiations, which did not achieve anything, the commissioner looked at me and he said, "They're only swim teachers anyway," and then realised what he'd said, but it was too late by then. That's the attitude that had happened throughout this negotiation process. It was long, it was arduous, and the leisure staff were significantly disadvantaged. So whilst we've had great things like domestic violence leave and all that sort of stuff as a general rule and introduction, in terms of particular people, and there are roughly 180 people affected by this, they have lost a significant portion of their income, and there's been nothing that we could do about it.
And Liz, at a time of really high inflation and the financial pressures people are already facing, are you finding people are just walking away from those jobs now because it doesn't seem like it in terms of the balance, it doesn't seem like it's worth working in?
That's actually a really good question. Yes, that is happening. And again, in the context of COVID, because these people worked for local government, they were not entitled to JobKeeper. So nobody had any income, with the exception of a few management staff. Nobody had any income for a period of 2 years. And then to lose this, and people I know currently with the changes, yes, they're moving in together. They're having to share accommodation. And yes, we lost a huge number of people over COVID because they were not supported during that period of time. And we can't recruit now because we're, A, not competitive anymore, but B, there are just not people around. There's something like 8,000 people shortage for swim teachers across Australia because people had to leave. They were not supported throughout COVID, and now they're coming back to they're only swim teachers. They're not important. So it's been awful for everybody.
Can you tell us a bit about the demographic makeup of the workforce that's going to be affected by this? I mean, you were saying they're quite young.
In terms of how long you stay in an organisation, they're not fly by night or turn over, in every 3 weeks. most of the people come during and work in leisure while they're at university. And when I'm hiring, I'm always delighted when they've got a double degree. It's 5 years that you've got them for. So most people stay for 5. Some stay a lot longer, and they get to the point where they earn long service leave. So this is often a first job. It's an introduction to the workforce. As a manager, I feel we've got an enormous responsibility to actually show them what good management is like and how you should be valued as people, not just written off because you're young. And the other component of the team, they're older women primarily. Again, many of them are single. Many of them are raising kids as sole parents. They're struggling as well. This works well for them. But again, it's not, you can't live on it. And particularly you can't live on it anymore. One of my staff had to remortgage her house during COVID because there was no support for her. And it's just, and people are walking away from it because no one cares.
Well, Liz, we wish you all the best with your campaign to change that situation for all those people in the leisure industry who are doing that important work, teaching our kids and everyone to swim. It's not just kids, there's lots of people who need to learn how to swim, and also the other services you provide there. But certainly you deserve a better deal than the one you're currently getting.
Thank you very much.
Thank you for being such a fighter for the union movement and for the people that you represent. It's incredible. All right, well, yeah, thanks for joining us, Liz. I can't thank you enough for your time today. We really appreciate it. You know what we always end up saying at the end of every episode, join your union.
AustralianUnions.org.au is where you go to do that, Kleo. You need to go to the website, join your union. Not only join your union, and as we said at the start of the program today, joining your union is one thing, but it was the people getting active like Liz in a union, like being involved, actually leads to outcomes. So if you do join your union, speak up, turn up to meetings, join these campaigns. I mean, I was speaking to someone here the other day who he said it was 10 years in the making. The paid parental leave campaign took 10 years to get off the ground, to extend it and change the nature of paid parental leave in this country. 10 years of hard work, 10 years of conversations, and building slowly, surely but surely a coalition of people who can make it happen. And we need people to do that as well. So thank you, Liz, and we'll catch you on the next episode, Kleo.
Yes, nice to talk to you both. Bye. And like, share and subscribe.